All right. Live stream 121. So, I think it was the beginning of last year that PC Mark 10 actually got globals on HarborBot. And here I am doing the first proper stream of it. I think I did a PC Mark 7 stream at one point. But this will be PC Mark 10. I just got. God damn it. I knew there was something I didn't fix. Whoop. That's better. I just got this SSD in. I know it's not the fastest SSD in the world, so it's a I I don't know anything about storage, so I'm probably even going to get this wrong. But it's an Intel 750 400 gigabyte. So even as far as 750s go, it's probably one of the slower ones because storage scales with size, right? So an 800 would be faster than a 400. A 1.6 tera, whatever the next size up is, will be faster again. But it should be passable. It was a good deal. It was like $50 or something. And I saw it on other scores, so it can't be completely and utterly garbage. But it is only, in quotation marks, a PCIe Gen 3 4X SSD. And I saw some other scores where it was in the top slot, but I just couldn't get that working properly with the capture card. And I have a 295X2 in here, mostly because I haven't tested that in 3D clocks yet. And why not do it in the stream? And AMD cards are supposedly faster in PC Mark 10. I know they are in 7. I did a lot of testing in 7. But buckle up, this is like, what is it, a 14-minute bench or something like that? And what I also have in the system is a locked quad core. So basically, the target will be this. Now, let's look up my scores because I think my quad core is pretty good. Exclamation point rig. Dude from I don't know. I like that. Yeah, so it's a 12100F. So I was severely I'm waiting for my new OC bracket to come in because actually I was pretty temp limited. So if I can pull up my GPU Pi on Ambient, of course. So I did 5623 in GPU Pi, which I would imagine would be roughly as heavy as PC Mark 10. PC Mark 10 is a pretty light bench. So that was only at 1.46 volts. So if I can push 1.5 through PC Mark 10, then maybe I have enough on the core side of things to beat this Ovis score. I'm sorry if Ovis watches. I don't know. This guy just rubs me the wrong way somehow. It's just one of these spam accounts that just benches tons of things and then is ranked like 12 in the world because they own so much hardware. So also 290X actually clocked quite high. I could probably pip them on the memory though. 7,000 memory, C28, what the hell. That Unify X is really good at going really loose on the subtimings to get really high, really like tight primaries and frequency. So 143, what did I run? I ran 137 at, why is he running a lower multi? He's probably running a lower multi for RAM or some such thing. And it seems as though they're running the same SSD I am running. So 400 gigabyte. And then I looked up this model code and it gave me a 750. And then I looked at the rig pick. Actually, it's pulled. So here we have display in the bottom. Maybe the Unify X is a bit more charitable when it comes to allowing display card in the bottom slot. Ah, damn it. I was running the stream last time with no display card, so I had to rearrange my whole setup here. I should have probably just made a new scene in OBS, but anyway, sort of halfway through. Yeah, I think this chip is probably pretty good because it did. What else did it do? It also did. If I go back to the chip, it did in the heavy stuff. So here, let's say, what's heavy? What was the heaviest? Y crunch. So Y crunch was quite interesting because I could only run. So it only, quote unquote, only did 5.45. But then if you look at it, no, I don't. I think I ran lower volts than that. There was some bench I was only running at 1.35, I think. Maybe Cinebench. Or was it 4K? A lot of fun running this. I have the dual core on the way as well. So yeah, 4K. Okay, so I ran everything at 1.46 for some reason. That doesn't really seem very optimized. But where I might be behind, so I can already see a few things. So I may not get the GPU clocks. So I think that would then lower the, I guess, the video conferencing scores. And then he's also there, also running 8.1, which I know is faster, but it's really hard to get running. Yeah, so those are sort of the pain points. Let's look at some hardware. So I got in. For reference, I should probably get a Kingston stick out. Anyway, I haven't taken the thing off of the Kingston, which I probably should do too once I've binned them. So these are some Aorus pre-binned sticks. Hynix, of course. I really like the PCB here, really clean. So 6800 is the XMP on that. And here I'm joining the Corsair Invitational. Ask me anything about it actually, if you want. So earlier today, I had great fun taking these engineering sample. It says on there, heat spreaders off. Really nice heat spreader actually. I would have liked to have kept a kit with that non-RGB. What's the deal with RGB on DDR5? Is it just not possible? Because not a single stick I've bought has had RGB, so I'm sort of wondering whether it's some sort of PCB limitation. So this Vengeance is really nice, black. I'm not just saying that because I got them free. So here's my 4 sticks. A little bit more busy layout around the PMIC compared to the Aorus. And on the first one, I was dumb enough to knock a cap off. Should keep them in the same order as before. Probably won't be able to see, but maybe if I give you the old compare and contrast. Bottom stick is missing a cap, top stick is not missing a cap. So yeah, that's the hard part done, right, for the comp. I'll just win the comp now because I've taken the spreaders off my RAM. But yeah, I just did the credit card method. So they are RGB versions, but it seems to be de-emphasized. Maybe the whole RGB thing has been is not as big of a like what would you call it, as big of a hit anymore. I'm drinking Deeds Brewing Center Stage Hazy IPA today. $5.30. And then I might have shown this board last time I was on, but I may as well show it again because it's just next to me. I've got 2 hardware legends in the room today, so this is hard to hold up without dropping. It's an SR2. There you go, came with air coolers and everything. I was tempted to stream that today, but the SSD only just came in, and the temptation to run PC Mine was too great. Sorry. This will have to be the next stream after the Corsair Invitational, which will run until mid-April. So I'll probably have about a 1 month hiatus. So that was 150 Aussie Shmomo. So that was really nice. It came with 48 gigs of RAM as well, which I'm ECC RAM, which I'm obviously just peddling. And then I got another bargain. I've completed my unicorn. What CPUs? I find it funny when people ask these kind of questions. Like, you buy a Ferrari and people are like, oh, what color leather are the seats? You know, like, I don't care what CPUs are in there. I think they're X5660, so quad cores, Xeon quad cores. If that's a SKU, if that's a thing, then that's what's in there. And here's I completed my X58 Unicorn collection. I bought a Rampage 3 Black Edition a couple of weeks ago. I bought a UD9 a couple of years ago. And here is a brand new in box X58 AOC. And I don't really know what I'm even going to do with it. I have all scenarios covered now. Okay, so we have a score. So our target is 10,533. We have a 4937. I'll actually screenshot that for reference. Is everyone excited about the fact that there's now a CPU-Z? Fuck, I still need to disable virus and thread detection. What was it again? Administrative templates, Windows components, Microsoft Defender antivirus. Turn off Microsoft Defender antivirus. There we go. Might need a reboot, but hopefully I can at least grab that screenshot. 4937. Damn numlock. So this is a fresh install. So how can I quickly find that out? Let's find that out. Let's go back to the forum private messages where that was talked about. Maybe it's a lower end 6-core, and that's why I thought it was a quad core, because for me, anything that isn't an upper level 6-core may as well be a quad core. Okay, let's go back to this post. SR2, where is the SR2? Yes, okay, so they are 6 cores, and it came with 48 gigs of RAM. So the reason this is a new Win 10 is because where are we? This obviously needs like some sort of driver, and if you have an existing image, you can't just load that existing image on there. It will attempt to boot, but it will tell you boot device not recognized or something like that. So basically the way to do it would be build a Macrium or a Cronus recover USB, install the OS normally, customize it, then back it up onto like a flash drive or whatever, just wherever, as an image file, using the booting into that recovery USB, and then from that point forward, at least on the same board and SSD combo, you should be able to restore OSs over and over and over again. Okay, so we need our GPU Z. I thought I'd turn off. Bloody hell. Windows 10 is dumb. Update and security. Okay. anyway. So our video conferencing was 5,400 and it should be like 11,000. And I think we're just on the, yes, we're on the box driver. So the first thing I'll do is install the AMD driver. So this will be sort of a from first principles type. And these cards are now unsupported, so 21.5.2 is the final release for these cards. I hate this visual crap. Let's turn it off. Yeah, but surely SR2 was an OCAU form. I actually, there was, as the bidding was going, it was like instant price was 200, bidding was at 100. I was like instant 200. I wasn't going to mess around with that. But saying that, it's just a display piece, really. Like, it's not really benching relevant. I don't know, it takes up a lot of space. So I'll do, I know the runs are long, but what I'll do is that'll give me opportunity to talk in between, and yeah, I'll talk about the invitational. It's all these settings that I keep changing all the time. Like, I hate having the recycle bin on the desktop for some reason. And I hate having that weird default background picture. Whoop. But surely 5660 from AliExpress will be dirt cheap at this point. Come on, kick back in, driver. Cool. Let's do the restart. Like honest folks. And I wonder if there's a firmware update. So the other thing about storage benching that's a bit special is a lot of the time there's firmware updates for SSDs that make them faster or slower, basically. And I'm still not on the latest sysinfo either. Well, that's okay. $10. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll keep them just to have something to run the board with, basically. There will be a stream. Okay, I'll just make sure that our GPU is fully there. And I should disable crossfire. Gaming. Oh, man. Why did that drop out? Couldn't find any games. Well, I just want the gaming settings. Okay, add a game then. The hell? Disable crossfire. Is the capture card gonna come back? It's back before my screen here, so that's nice. Okay, crossfire is disabled but available. I should run a quick render test just to be totally paranoid. Nice. Okay. So yeah, step by step by step. I did about a week of this for Team Cup 2019. So what's the deal? Does anyone know? So hey Zarok, how are you doing? Does anyone know about NVMe drivers? Is that a thing I should be using? So there's the firmware on the drive itself, but there might also be I think I should probably do a run of AS SSD after that, because I saw my application startup score was pretty low as well. And since that is now a actual benchmark on HarborBot, that's where I'm going to get my binary from. Yeah, there's a reason. So, well, first of all, to state the obvious, well, it's not so obvious, but in general, in benches that require a graphics card, but put a very small amount of load on the graphics card, such as the PC Marks and Legacy 3D, you actually, unless you're submitting to the Crossfire category specifically, you actually want to disable Crossfire because it adds latency. So if you're just putting a tiny amount of load on a graphics card, splitting it between two cores doesn't make any sense, because the act of splitting it between the two cores costs more time than you gain from reducing the load on the first core by having only half of the load be on the first core, because the second core takes the other half of the load. The reason I'm using a 295X2, I had a 290X matrix die recently, and I think I have one more 290X matrix, sorry, not matrix, lightning. I have one more, but I can't find it at the moment, and I would have to swap the block over. So I'm being a bit lazy. And also a 295X2 with one core disabled is a 290X. Like, it's totally identical, and you can sub it as a 290X. For the purpose of what I'm doing, it's totally adequate, and it's got that lovely air cooler on it. And a lot of my 290Xs now are bare PCB, so I'd have to mount a water block and all that kind of stuff. And I was already busy enough setting up some cameras and setting up the rig, getting the OS going. 480. My 480 has had a cap knocked off of it, and it's also bare PCB. So yeah, I need to investigate. It'll probably be towards the end of this year, to be honest. But I do want to rerun my 480. Same sort of deal with. I have a Vega 64, which would score well at 2, but that has got half of a water block fused to it. Long story. So yeah, I think I'll investigate. I might like run a flat after this run. I should see some improvement in the score, but what I'll do next is bias is completely cleared actually, so I might run a flat 5.5 gigahertz on the CPU and like a basic 6400 on the RAM and stuff. So while we're waiting for that run to finish. Oh, I didn't add that to my Nightbot, did I? So it is a Intel 750 SSD, PCIe Gen 3, 400 gigabyte. So far from the best SSD, but the score I'm trying to beat is on that SSD, and I got this for 100 Aussie dollars shipped. So I think it's a case of good enough. you would want that like $10,000 octane to really like get a world record out and stuff. But I'm just trying to get something decent in the 4-core category, and I'm up against someone with chillers, so I might not get there tonight, but eventually on ambient I'll probably get close enough to just LN2 the CPU and get global first. Okay, so for those who are not aware, Corsair is running an invitational. Those are the 14 people participating, including me. Those were the stims I was showing you earlier. By the way, the stick with the cap knocked off of it still posts and everything. There's going to be 3 stages. They're going to be staggered, starting tomorrow European, so I guess Wednesday European time, so Thursday Aussie time. They'll announce the stage. They may only announce that one stage and then announce them one at a time. It's going to be 3 stages, I would imagine, since it's a memory manufacturer running it. Actually, Roman, being the owner of HardwareBot, he'd already put out a video where he said that one of the stages is going to be memory validation. I'd imagine they would run that last. So I'm a bit on tenterhooks to find out what the first 2 stages will be. I think maybe it could be something like Geekbench 5, SuperPi 32M, and then memory valid. I don't know. It just depends on, since it's a, you know, a sponsor, it's a manufacturer sponsored event. They could easily manage something like weird. I don't know what a weird memory benchmark would be. Maybe even ADATA, whatever it's called, IDA write read, some bullshit like that. So here's the participants: Bob NZ, friend of mine, Billzoid, fellow content creator, I guess. Crazy85, you might know him from that 3 Mark 01 world record video with their Bauer with Roman. Bullshooter, a perennial participant. Alexaro, perennial participant. OGS, or Firekiller GR as he's known as on the forums, also a strong contender. Lucky Noob, Lumi, probably not as. So basically the way it goes is so there's Miller as well, there's Noliso, Ralph, Surgeman, Splave. I would have thought that like the shoo-ins, the ones that were the top of the invite list, were Splave, Ralph, I guess Lucky Noob, OGS, Bullshooter, and Alexaro. And then Bob NZ got in because they invited the top 3 finishers of Corsair's DDR4 competition. And then basically Bullzoid and I were at it as just for the lols, because we're content creators in the broadest sense of the word. And then Surgeman, Noliso, Crazy85, I don't know, because the owner of HardwareBot is German. Let's not get into conspiracy theories, but I look, who am I to complain? So we each got sent these kits. Do I have, I'll just get the box, whatever. So they're engineering samples, but the box actually looks like a retail box. It's quite nice, this little, really funny little box. 6200 bin. But the weirdly, this code at the bottom here is 00000. That'll tell you that it's engineering sample. So no dead on arrival kits for me. That's always good. Able to get the heat spreaders off without killing anything. That's good. Now I'll have to see. I have so many RAM pots. I have a Hoff pot. I have 2 Kingpin pots, and I have an EK pot, and all of those spreaders plus Bartek spreaders. And I'm just hoping to get, you know, for PSC, like all the spreaders and stuff are good for PSC, so that's easy. But For the single-sided DDR4 and DDR3 stuff, it's kind of finicky getting the spreaders on and getting a good mount on the pot. It's funny, people keep talking about good mounts on CPUs, but fucking hell, good mount on RAM pots, it's like black magic. It's so hard. So I have LN2 coming. I fully intend to run all stages on LN2. To be completely honest, I just hope to come second last or better. So hopefully I can beat Bill Zoid. Because it's a strong field, you know. It's just, there's no two ways about it. The last time I ran an individual comp, yeah, so Bob NZ killed one of his 4 sticks, because where is a stick? So you will not be able to see this, but believe me when I say that some of the PMIC components are actually as high or higher than the RAM ICs. So that's really tricky because you don't want to short out the PMIC. You actually, I think the PMIC gets cold enough just by being on the same PCB as the chips you're actually trying to cool. So it's this tricky thing where you want to be able to ignore the PMIC, this whole power delivery area of the PCB. You just don't want to short it, but it's higher than the rest. So what are you going to do? You want a good mount on the RAM ICs with paste and everything, but then you have to sort of put some sort of pad there. I don't know how it's going to be so finicky. I'm not looking forward to figuring that out, to be honest. But yeah, it's unavoidable. This you can't be competitive in this comp without cold. Maybe I think if you really hyper optimize it, if you really put a lot of hours into testing and stuff, you could get away with running dice on the RAM, but ambient is just a total no go. So I'm actually sort of hoping for CPU speed. Look, I haven't run an individual comp since the HardwareBot World Tour event in Melbourne 2017, when I was an absolute noob. I killed my chip and I got no scores and I came last. So that's the hurdle I'm trying to clear. I'm trying to do better than that. And so even though I'm not in general sort of a big fan of clock limited comps, because it means basically even more work, I'm hoping for either single threaded stages or clock limited stages, because I have a 7.1 gigahertz 12600 KF. So that will, out of a field of 14 people, I think that will on its own knock some people out who might not be able to find a chip like that. Of course, Bullshooter already has a 100 biscuit chip from all of his binning adventures. But clock limited might be better because there have been so many horror stories. So the boards, I think previous generations, correct me if I'm wrong, but previous generations had 6-layer PCBs, but these boards are all 8-layer now. And it's leading to all sorts of condensation issues. So when I was just running the CPU on cold with a heater, I was still getting condensation on the back of the board. So it's actually, in the many years that I've owned a heater, was the first time I actually valved up the back of the board, because I had to end sessions after an hour and a half, just because the back of the board was wet. With 2 pots and the memory and the CPU cold, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other problem there, because I actually don't have a second heater, because both Kingpin and Elmore are out of stock, and now with the COVID-0 lockdown in Shenzhen, is that how you pronounce it? The technology hub in China. There's going to be even more delays with those heaters, so I don't expect to get a second heater. I could maybe borrow one from another bencher. But yeah, I'm sort of hoping for clock limited so I can run the CPU in water and then just use the CPU, get a really good mount We're talking about 2 mounts now. Get a good mount on the pot on the top, and then good insulation around those 2 DIMMs. It sort of helps that it's a 2 dimmer board. I think in my experience it's been a bit trickier with the 4 dimmer boards because you have that one gap in between, and you end up, hey, first time chat, Quentin CC, why not CNC a bit the plate of the RAM module to avoid short circuit? Yeah, I mean, there are always solutions, but I want to spend every minute that I have spare on this competition. Individual competitions, I would say per stage, people spend probably 50 to 100 hours on a stage. I don't know, somewhere around there. So you want every spare minute, but yeah, that's one idea. Yeah, so with the two DIMMs being close to each other like that. Morning. Hi, Tim. It's just easier just to put like a towel around it and stuff, and have pretty good insulation on the top, and then like center the heater really well at the bottom, and then that maybe will stop the heat conductivity. So for those who might not know, the problem with the extra layers in the PCB is that there's obviously more copper in the PCB, and the traces leading from the RAM, let's say, or from the CPU, will then conduct the cold outward, and the heater stops you from having a condensation issue right there behind the socket or behind the RAM module. But you can't really, over the course of a long session, eventually the traces get cold anyway, and they conduct cold outwards anyway. And all it takes is, let's say you have your RAM at minus 150. All it takes is for the traces to be at 10 plus, because all you need is to get underneath, get below the dew point. So yeah, it's kind of tricky. I think I'll go back to the test now and just mute myself just for a minute, and I'll grab another beer because this one's gone warm. So back in a minute. Watch the exciting video editing subtests of PC Mac. What did I miss? So what do you think, guys? Is this Jacinda Ardern? This is a New Zealand beer. Is this pretending to be Jacinda Ardern? Is it some sort of copyright infringement? So the 7.8%, the leader, that's a clue, double cold IPA. So to those who are drinking, hopefully not the Europeans, because that's a sign of alcoholism. Cheerio. Nice. So yeah, ask me anything about the fail to initialize front end. The hell? But it's still running somehow? Weird. Okay, but let's sort of analyze anyway. So we got actually good bump in essentials. So yeah, as predicted, 2k extra, 2.2k extra. Web browsing went up. That could have been a somewhat decent score actually. Okay, we need to get to the bottom of this though. So might just be a random hang type thing. I'll take the opportunity to install the right sysinfo. The really dumb thing is sometimes this info changes the score. I wish it weren't so, but I've seen it with my own damn eyes. Actually, I've been in Vantage. It was chronic because I had cards. Clock worse on the most recent sys info. How bad is that? Oh, was I running? I was running regular PC Mac, was I? Okay, that's dumb. So yeah, ask me anything about the comp. I'm serious. I'm not just trying to lower expectations or anything. Coming second last, I'll be happy. Actually, it's so much about. Okay, so this gen Apex is the RAM beast. From what I've heard, the Tachyon actually does better CPU. So the Tachyon, maybe like, we'll just get the extra megahertz somehow. I don't know how, but so I'm not the world's best fucking memory overclocker, so Tachyon is the board for me, and I consider getting the Apex for this comp, but it just I'm gonna run Gigabyte. I'm gonna run what I'm comfortable in, and then I'm going to set sort of realistic expectations. You know, some of the people in the comp will be running Tachyons. It would be really, really cool to finish first out of all the Tachyons, for example, especially if it's a clock limited comp where everything's going to come down to RAM, because I've heard from people who are like, yeah, I passed 8,000 megahertz Geekbench CL32 or 30 or whatever on cold, and I could only do 7600 or 7500 on the Tachyon. So clearly, but then again, there's little things like you can maybe run the lower frequency but tighten it up more. There's things you can do, but it's just do I have my Instagram sign in here? Let's move on from the comp, but I gladly return to it if someone has any specific questions. Why is this not loading up? Hello, internet. Is Facebook down or something? That's the other thing I considered, is Tachyons are really, like, in terms of XOC boards, Tachyons are really cheap in Australia at the moment. They're 800 Aussie dollars. And I was gonna get a second one just to bin boards, but that's not an Apex thing necessarily. Basically, we've gotten so far. What the hell? Let's see if I remember my signing details. Ugh, fuck. Is that Unity dash OC? Underscore. Okay. Yeah, it's just DDR5 in its current implementation. Maybe they'll get away from that somehow, but currently there is a big issue with a difference between the two memory channels. So up to I've heard 600, and actually Bullance has two tachyons. He got an early sample where he had 600 difference, where his inside slot was 600 megahertz worse than his outside slot on cold, and he bought a retail, and it's so much better. The other thing to talk about is I got top. Well, you can see it here anyway. Freaking Instagram. Why do I use this platform? There you go. Is there like a desktop zoom? It's like an accessibility thing, isn't it? Anyway. Why is that locked? Got to top 10 world on HiRobot. Made a post about it because I'd never been top 10. Yeah. Let's see how long it lasts. I have a lot of... I'm still 10th. Oh, Surge Man back on top. Oh, Viz. Ugh. What did Surge bench? I might have to bench some... thanks, Forks. I might have to bench some lock chips. I mean, sorry to sort of like call him out individually, but this guy is 9th in the world with basically no hardware points. Look at this. 40 hardware points doesn't even come up in my top 60. That's too low. Like I have like 70, 70, 70, 70, some 62s, some 50s, and then my lowest one is like 45 or something. And this guy has like, there's not a single gold in his hardware points. By contrast, I think this is what a bencher should have in his top hardware points. Yeah, 44 is the lowest. 62s and 70s are really hard to get. So the top 13 scores are legit proper. 14 scores are proper goals. And this guy just doesn't bench. I mean, okay, so he's got 01 on a 780 Ti because he benched it on Alder Lake, right? Oh, yeah, okay. He's the first guy to bench this on Alder Lake cold. Yip-de-doo. You know? 12490F. What the hell is that? But his global results are so good, and his global results are all Alder Lake, and then he, you know, just throws in one Ryzen because it's optimal for that one bench. You know, it's like hyper optimized globals and no hardware points. Anyway, gonna get myself in trouble. Too much grief. Yeah. So, and I got I'm actually. I thought I'm getting close to, so seasonal, this ranking doesn't get updated very often. Seasonal I'm on 2677 or so. So I'm close to first in the world seasonal. Just need another cold session. Yeah. And I got some cool scores out. I did what did I do? I did a lot of 3 Mark 03. So I got 3-way on cold, 4-way on cold. I need to rebench these. Ooh, there's a GIMP subtest. What am I? Anyway, yeah, I'm a bit. It's a new memory platform too, so I'm a bit scared of Stream dead. No, stream health is looking good in my dashboard. And I watch, like I keep my own stream up as well to monitor for issues. And mine didn't die, so. There's this thing, I don't know if you know, on Twitch, there's this thing where there's basically this stream manager thing where it'll tell you your current bitrate, and it'll tell you like dropped frames and stuff, and that's not alerting your server. All Linux ISOs, right? So yeah, and obviously, okay, so the other part of this is I got this board sponsored from Gigabyte. Why not run the comp on it? 100 Linux ISOs. Nice. And there's no chopping and changing allowed, so neither ES motherboards or CPUs. Hardware sharing not allowed. And High Cookie is gonna roll. So I think there's probably 3 or 4 of us out of the 12 in the comp running the Tachyon. Bullshooter might as well. Let's see. Let's actually make a prediction. So Alex Rowe, Aces Shill, obviously. Bob, looking like Apex, maybe even the Dark. So Billside has an Apex. Bullshooter has a Tachyon. So that's one Tachyon. Crazy 85. Who the hell is Crazy 85? Did this person change their nick or something? I've been overclocking for 5 years now. I don't know who Crazy 85 is. I saw the guy in the video with Roman. Kind of cringe actually. This is an incredibly revealing look at the stuff I watch on YouTube. Yes, chess. 3D Mark 2001 world record, Crazy 85. Skip ads. You have that audio now, right? Trouble with the RAM. I like these timestamps. No Roman audio. Got me doubled up. Damn. Let's fix that. I don't think it's essential. Yeah, I'll give up on that. So this is crazy 85 apparently. Yes. Here's a like borderline staged. Oh yeah, there's the end of the bench. The borderline staged reaction. I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's very German. It's very like, oh, let's celebrate, but let's not go too crazy. By the way, the current record is 255 or so. Oh. I should loop that, you know? He's like, hand in his pocket. Oh, we got it. Yay. Sorry. Okay. That's kind of mean. That's mean. I'm sorry. Let's give these people all the credit in the world, all the benefit of the doubt. When you bench for like 12 straight hours, you're tired as fuck, and your reaction to a world record may not be as convincing or as genuine as it would have been in hour 1 of the benching session. So yes, look, anyone who runs 01, they should be given credit no matter what the circumstances. But okay, so this crazy 85 person, I just don't ever remember, like, did he come out of why am I saying they? It's clearly a guy. Did he come out of retirement or something? Like, Oh, he benched 3-way-01. 6.6. I'm gonna beat that. That's I'm yep. I'm gonna run Hawaii. And what's the yes about? White Shark, please elaborate. Yes, you agree that people get tired after a benching session, or yes, you think that the reaction is pathetic. So 01 still gets a boost from Hawaii. Came out of retirement. Okay. Okay, I gotta crush this. Yeah, apparently for so then the next newest thing is 7350K. Oh, 2001, 21. Let's get some clues. So, so like the legit stuff. That's 2021 as well. Okay. 3070. No. Wow, doing a lot of benching recently then. How do I... Okay, I have a score. Like, can I somehow... He's been doing a crazy amount of benching. Look, this is all last year. Crazy. 2012. Okay, here we go. So, it's a legit old... Yeah, okay. Sunny. Okay. All concerns are off. Okay, so I feel like 7.2K with no clocks on the card. Test still on. I don't know if that does anything. With no clocks on the chip, could be legit a really fast thing already actually. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So CPU Z 2.0. I think it's still, it hangs on SPD a lot. So what I like to do is disable SPD because ain't nobody got time for that. So let's go in here, SPD 0. What's even the stock? 41 stock is 4.1 gigahertz. So 4.3 gigahertz. So if we assume linear scaling, so let's say we do a 5.5, and scaling would be like close to linear. Oh, why is my... Oh, that's right, I don't have... Okay, whatever. So 7172 multiplied by... what's 5.5 over 4? It's like almost 50%. Not really. 4.3 plus 1.2. Let's say 25% scaling. Yeah, that's just 1.25. So 9,000 points, totally untweaked, and all we're trying to beat is 10.5K. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But let's do comparison of the subtest. So you don't see that. App startup boosted a little bit. Video conferencing. App startup slower actually. Video conferencing is boosted. Web browsing. And then why do I have to spreadsheet doubles? How does a video driver install double the spreadsheet score? Seriously, anyone give me any credible theories on how the installation of a video driver doubles the spreadsheet score? Yeah, Lumi. Okay, it's like I'm spreading all this shit today, but Lumi is a weird guy. But weird, like, this is 2022, right? Like, weird doesn't... Like if you called someone weird in the 60s, yeah, that has definite negative connotations. But Lumi is just like a weird guy, you know, like it's not, that's not a good thing. Like that's not a judgment, you know. He's just like a bit eccentric, a bit different, you know. And we like that. Let's save a profile. PC Mark 10. Yeah, I'm on my bad capture card. Hopefully he kicks back in after bias, like after post. Dragging resize, but resizing windows. Okay, I know that's probably the answer. You are right, but seriously, the box driver in 2022 in a fresh installed Windows 10 21H2 isn't fast enough to resize a fucking window? That's just criminal. I should keep temp monitoring running the, oh, for God's sake. God damn it, guys. I should keep temp monitoring running in the background, but let's see. We should get a decent boost from RAM as well, actually. Let's get GTL. I want to do a flat. I want to do a flat 5.5. I feel like that's the real deal. Like that's a not move. God damn it. Flat 5.5 should be super safe. What was that weird crash about? So yeah, in all this time, in 121 in 121 streams, I've never done storage benching. 134.5. Yeah, that'll do. I feel like I can run really high on core, but I don't, for a long test like that, I don't want to risk it. There's all kinds of tweaks for this, like there's mouse wiggles and stuff, but come on. Are you serious? Okay, maybe give it a bit more V-core. It's doing that weird thing. I need to power cycle it to get back into BIOS. And I certainly have to, I need to do an AS SSD run. Ooh, 1.457 already. Okay, let's do 1.5. Hey, let's do 133 flat. I feel like it's one of those. FutureMark is, let's say, notorious for having the system info scan part of the benchmark be heavier than the benchmark itself. Okay, so big picture, don't expect another stream until mid-April. I may. It just depends how I feel about what I'm doing. If I'm just doing, has my stream degrades? Interesting. Just for a little while there. 390 watts. Yeah, it's insane. Wow, I haven't had internet issues in a long time. That's disappointing. I can always set clocks after I open the benchmark. That's not a problem. Don't expect to stream until mid-April, as I'm getting black screening. Like, god damn it. But I might do, if there's some, it just all depends on the benches. That's why I'm just waiting for those benches to be announced, because so much hinges on that. It's like, okay, we know the sticks we're using. We obviously know what platform you're using, because there is only one platform that does DDR5. But what are the benches? It could be anything. I hate Windows error recovery. And what does it, like, system info is supposed to be a way to determine with a good level of certainty what components are in your system, and then maybe to do some sort of cheat detection. Like, why is that 390 watts? So dumb. I'm seeing spinny wheels. You'd think with a super fast SSD like this, what is going on? Okay, so really doesn't want to do those clocks now. $132 BCLK it is then. That's wild that I got 2,000 points out of display driver install. It's, yeah, it's... $900p display resolution? Which 3D Mark? And why would you want to lower it? You should always set the bench resolution. So maybe something old like CloudGate might have a native bench resolution of 900p? Or do you mean some sort of SSD that's called a 900p? I'm a bit out of the loop, sorry. Hopefully she's gonna boot right up. What the hell? I don't... Kernel mode trap. Oh, that's right. I didn't lower the vCore along with the clocks. Okay, so 1.5 just seems to be too much. 1.45. That's okay. I don't expect to take the record today. I just want to try a few little things here and there. But what I mean, there's like 15 different benchmarks called 3D Mark. If you're talking about an actual 3D Mark, a GPU benchmark, then use whatever SSD you have lying around. If you mean 3D Mark storage, that's a benchmark that doesn't get points on Hyperbot anyway. So I don't know. Like I was saying earlier, this is the first time I'm running. I have run storage benches before, but this is the first time I'm streaming a storage bench. So I probably know less about storage than you do. .900p Optane is a faster drive than I have here, so I might do okay. System still attempting to boot. Let's do it. Let's actually end up in OS. Yes. And miraculously my capture card is there too. Okay. I feel like booting is harder than the bench, so I should just run the bench straight away. 5.4, that's alright. I can't help myself but up the Encore multi once. I love how they changed the display in CPU-Z with 2.00. Yes, it is 4 channels of 32-bit. That is an accurate description of what is going on in DDR5. When they previously just put the 4-letter word quad in there, that was a complete and utter farce in my opinion, because it's not quad channel. Because that alludes to that brings you into connection with systems that have actual quad channel memory, and hopefully as it hangs, hopefully this is the last time you'll hear this rant from me, because every subsequent version of CPU-Z will just get this right. A guy can dream, right? The hell? Okay, I'll just go down 1 BCLK. I'll still get a 25% boost, so you know, if I can get the top non-Alder, if I can just beat the top non-Alder Lake score, that'll be nice. It's all about the tweaks today. I'll all this nonsense will just go away with just a pod on top, a little bit of LN2. Maybe I just shouldn't have even upped the Encore. I'll keep upping 1 BCLK. I'll keep the benchmark open so we don't get the system info issue. Since we're already having a pretty controversial stream, what about Ukraine, guys? Open floor to any and all opinions. I just think it sucks that we have to, well, it's twofold, right? Like, it sucks that, I mean, it's nothing compared to the suffering of the actual Ukrainian people, but that is going on regardless of sanctions. It sucks that we have to also drag the Russians and everyone else into it. Like, just ordinary, yeah, pissed off about diesel prices, right? So, like, read this article today about a Russian young up and coming pianist not being allowed to perform in Canada anymore. Like, they canceled his gig. He even made statements opposing the regime, and his concert was still canceled because, you know, that would be controversial or whatever. Like, that's just racism, plain and simple. You know, leave the ordinary Russian people's, like, what is that supposed to achieve? Like, so you make the ordinary Russians suffer so much that they start an uprising? Do you know how fucking Putin operates? Like, it's not like they've been happy for the last 20 years when he was in power. You know, it's not really that simple. Okay, I'm still gonna go up. I just can't help myself from just going up one multi in Encore. I'm sorry. I know I probably shouldn't. But there we go. That's just my character flaw, right? Express. Don't really know what's express about it. So yeah, it's, I don't know. So everyone in the chat is suffering from it. Every Russian alive is suffering from it, whether in Russia or abroad. Basically everyone in the world, like, okay, on non-contacted tribes in the Amazon are not suffering from it because they don't have contact with the outside world. But essentially every single person in the world is suffering from this whole embargo situation. And, like, I don't know, like, at a certain point you could make, not that I'm not going to make the argument myself, but one could make the argument that whatever it is, 8 billion people all suffering a tiny little bit is worse than 44 million people suffering a lot. You know, like, I'm not making that argument. I know it's like a really, really cynical view, but, like, there is some sort of equivalency there, you know. And the more important point is that the sanctions won't do anything, you know. It's just this whole thing is the cause of the minute. Like, if the West, I look, I hope, I should really read the terms of service of Twitch. Maybe I'm getting into hot water here, but if the West really gave a fuck about people who are in war, then we would try to stop the war in Yemen or the war in Syria. Or if they just gave a shit about people in general, then we would stop the sanctions against Iran. We'd stop the sanctions against Venezuela. You know, there's so many people in the world who are suffering for no good reason. And it's not just the Ukrainians. Not that, you know, not to say that we should ignore that whole situation. But is that a freeze? I feel like that's a freeze. Okay, I'm gonna not do the whole encore thing. You know, so here's a map. This is all the currently ongoing conflicts in the world. All right, Ukraine is one of like 30 or 40. I know the magnitude of some of these is lower than the magnitude of what's going on in the Ukraine, but like, What about the Rohingya in Myanmar? What about Kashmir? What about Palestine? What about the war against the drug lords in Mexico? I could keep going on and on and on. What about what is it, Somalia, or what's this country? I mean, the worst war is the proxy war going on in Yemen for what is it, 7 years now? What about all of that? Right? We don't. How can we go? How can we be so selective? You know, we don't give a shit about all of that. What about the fact that the war in the Ukraine has been going on for 7 years already, and this is just an escalation of the ongoing war? Nobody talks about it. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Putin is Hitler." You know, that is an extraordinarily reductionist view of things. Right? I'm not a Putin apologist. There's a difference, you know. It's like the anti-vax thing. Hey, you're an anti-vaxxer for saying there's no point in vaxes, right? So I got let's just cover all the controversial topics tonight. I got my third shot on Saturday. That's why I announced a stream for Friday night and then didn't do it, because I got up early and did my third shot on Saturday morning. And the only the only reason I got it was because I'm traveling somewhere where they mandate a third shot to get in. Because I feel like, okay, so they're telling us get the third shot after 3 months. I'll just happily stay home for 3 months and not get the shot. You know, like if it really only lasts 3 months, then fuck all of them. You know, just fuck that. I don't. There's like a fixed cost. You know, in the broadest sense of the word of cost associated with a shot. You know, you can get. I know this is all low probabilities, but you can get an infection from getting the shot. You can get blood clots if they don't administer it properly and they inject it into a blood vessel instead of a muscle. This is not anti-vax talk. This is just the practicalities of getting a shot. You know, it's not an everyday thing. You know, I know all of this. This is with Pfizer especially. It seems like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Moderna has this too. Myocarditis is an issue. I've heard. I know this is anecdotal evidence, but like I've heard a lot more about side effects than I have of, oh, the third shot saved me from this really chronic COVID infection. The vid. What's the vid? Locals attacking locals. Okay, so there is a mix. Okay, I don't want to throw them all into the same bucket. There is definitely a mix. So the colors. Let's show you the legend. The colors are a bit deceptive because they are a measure of the total fatalities over the course of the conflict. So a conflict can be a really low simmering conflict for 50 years, and then the color will still be dark because, you know, over the course of 50 years there's been a lot of high absolute number of deaths, right? But this is what the color coding that Wikipedia chose, right? But just from memory, right? So like Mexico's war is a war between basically the drug lords, the cartels, and the armed forces or the government, let's say. Then in is it Colombia? You have that the FARC, that ongoing conflict with these people hiding in the jungle somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what this is Uruguay, right? Like, what would this conflict be? Maybe a really, really small one because it's only yellow. I don't know what this conflict is either. Then obviously here you've got Ukraine, here you've got Yemen. Those are the big ones, Ukraine and Yemen. And then this is Afghanistan. So there's no denying that Ukraine, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Burma are big, legit wars, right? Here, let's actually the Tigray war. Like, so the Tigray war between Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan is a legit war. So we're talking like, no, this is objectively speaking, there are 5 big major wars going on in the world right now, and Ukraine is just one of them, right? And then once you get into the reds and oranges and yellows, I will admit that it's like a tangential thing sometimes, you know, like, what do you mean by war in Saudi Arabia? I mean, I don't know. I haven't really heard anything about that. Same with Indonesia, right? Like, I Philippines, there's like Duerte out there, like that. We've heard of that, so that's probably a bit more legit. But then, what's this? Thailand? A war in Thailand? What could that be? You know, let's look at the list. Let's just look at the list. Let's also put the link in the chat. I'll be if I'm wrong about anything, point it out. I'll be the first to admit. One of the largest armies in the world invaded another country. That's the difference. Oof. Blue screen. Yeah, but in order to settle a 7-year civil war, a brutal civil war. Okay. Anyway, let's not fourth shot. No, I'm not on board for a fourth shot. But like, what makes a civil war less brutal? You know, like, if the government of a country starts to slaughter its own people, isn't that as much of a justification for intervention as an invasion? You know, like, what's the difference between an international war and a civil war? I would argue nothing. Like, pretty much nothing. It's the severity of the conflict and the justifiedness. Immigration is also war. But I mean, like, human suffering is human suffering, okay? Like, Myanmar is brutal. 200,000 dead. Ukraine is actually... So, Tigray we don't have good reporting on, clearly, with this 5x range here. So, and then this is actually hilarious, because the official figures on the civil war are 14,000. So, okay, and then 149 in 2021, and then here you see, right, fatalities in 2021. Ukraine is the smallest of the 5 major wars. Yeah, but okay, so like, it depends on if you're some sort of like, what would you even call it? If you're someone who's like really obsessed with sovereignty and stuff and political science and stuff, then yeah, an international war is worse than a civil war, purely by the fact that it is like it's you know, it hurts sovereignty or whatever. But like, I just go off of human suffering, you know, like, whatever has the worst human suffering should get the most international attention, in my opinion. So we should be caring about Afghanistan the most, and then if we have some like money and resources left, we should send stuff to Yemen, and then if we have money and resources left, we should send stuff to Tigray, and then to Myanmar, and then if anything's left over, go to Ukraine, you know. But currently we're enacting these extremely brutal and extremely counterproductive sanctions on Russia. And there was actually this, yeah, 1948. Myanmar is fucked up. That's a whole other story about how, I think it was a British colony. All show and distraction, yeah. But there was this can I link I think it was a Guardian long read. Let's see if this is the podcast I was listening to. Where are all the or was it a BBC podcast? God damn it. Where's my phone? I'll figure this shit out. BBC. What's this goddamn thing called? Am I blind? How am I? Oh, The Inquiry is the name of the podcast. Why is it not on here? I don't know if this is the best link to be sending. So this podcast talked about sanctions more generally. It was like, what did are sanctions generally effective? And the first example it gave was Cuban sanctions, which have been going on since the 60s, and about how the only reasons Cuban sanctions are still ongoing is because of the Cuban lobby in the US, because Florida is a swing state, and because of the electoral college, you always want to win Florida, and in order to win Florida, you want to get the votes from the Cuban diaspora, and the Cuban diaspora is in favor of the Cuban sanctions because that means they can send back like stuff to Cuba or whatever. I don't know the exact like intricacies of it, but it was amazing because 60 years of sanctions, 60 years of suffering in Cuba, and for what? Then they've not been effective. The same party, the same. Is it still Raul Castro's in whatever? Someone appointed by Raul Castro is in power now. So 60 years later, the same, let's say, dynasty or the same group of people are still in power in Cuba. And the stated goal of Cuban sanctions was regime change. And I feel like, I know the sanctions against Russia are even more hardcore, but I feel like potentially something kind of similar could happen with Russia, where we sort of lose interest in it and the sanctions don't escalate any further. And because the sanctions stay static, Russia starts switching to like Chinese supplies of things, and everything sort of reaches an equilibrium, and we end up in a Yemen civil war situation, real enemy. So for those who don't know, Yemen's civil war is just incredible because it began 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It's a civil war, and on one side is Iran, and on the other side is Saudi Arabia, who gets most of their arms from the US. So it's essentially the US against Iran in a proxy war. And it's like, Yemen has always been this really, really poor country anyway, and add 10 years of civil war to that. That is the biggest, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can see it, the biggest humanitarian crisis. And it's not just been going on for 2 months like Ukraine, it's been going on for 10 years. And the West is like, yeah, whatever. We're allied with Saudi Arabia. They behead like women and gays and stuff, but we don't care because they're our allies in the war against terror or whatever. That nebulous definition. Never even heard of it. There you go. I'm not grandstanding here. I'm honestly, I know I'm two beers deep, but the Yemeni civil war, read up about it, listen to podcasts about it. It legit, like, it's an eye opener. Like, even we might disagree on Ukraine, whatever. That's a whole different topic. But if you just look at that, in isolation, the fact that the only reason really that it's still going on is because both sides are backed from the outside. So there's this whole thing of the Saudis are one side of Islam, they're Sunni, I think. I may be wrong. And then Iran is Shia Muslim, and they don't like each other, so they both arm both sides of this civil war in Yemen. And Yemen itself, I don't think it has any resources or anything. There's nothing of interest there, but it was just an excuse for these two countries to spar off against each other. And I mean, Syria is still ongoing too, in a sense. Is that on our little map? Yeah, here we go. Syria is still red here. So at one point, Syria was, so the US side of Syria was it Trump or was it still Obama? Someone deployed ground forces in Syria, but didn't tell anyone, like it kept it secret. But then Trump withdrew them. So there was this bizarre situation where Trump withdrew ground troops that didn't exist in terms of the public knowledge. Like nobody ever told anyone that the ground troops existed, but then Trump made a big deal about withdrawing them. It's like, oh, let's withdraw all ground troops from Syria. And people were like, what ground troops? So the US has lessened its involvement in Syria, but at one point there was like a 3 or 4 sided conflict, like Syria, Russia, US, and Iran all sparring, like going off against each other for no real reason. And I don't know if you remember this. This is probably 5 years ago, but there was this whole thing about getting Assad out. You know, regime change is this magic American word, this phrase, regime change. We want regime change in Syria, and it never happened because Russia stepped in and was like, "We have your back." And I'm not saying, like, I mean, he's obviously Assad is a dictator, but yeah, that's what happened. And so there was, I suppose, the first post-Cold War proxy war between Russia, arguably the first post-Cold War proxy war between Russia and the US, because they were both in that conflict. And I don't know if there was any actual confrontation. Like, it was sort of a weird 4-sided conflict where Russia might, like, Syria might bomb the, no, I don't think that, how did it go? So the Syrians might bomb the Iranians, the Russians might like supply the Syrians, and then the Syrians, I don't think they ever like took up arms against the US somehow, even though the US did launch that rocket attack against the Syrians from a boat, from a warship at one point. Korean conflict, yeah, I mean, it's yellow here. I think they just have a demilitarized zone, and that's it, right? On occasion, a singular person will step into the wrong part of the world, you know, into that demilitarized zone and maybe get killed. I don't know, but I don't feel like it's an, okay, so it's an ongoing conflict in the sense that no peace agreement or has been signed. That's a fact. The war is technically still ongoing, but is there any fatalities anymore? I don't think so. So we're sort of halfway through the bench. This is why I picked this bench for tonight, because I felt like chatting. So like the majority of Africa in some sort of conflict. Iran, so what do they consider a conflict in Iran? I guess the conflict between the Revolutionary Guard and the rest of the country. Fatalities. Insurgency between Mozambique and Tanzania. I have not heard of this. So the biggest ongoing war that is not in the Big Five is actually a war I haven't even heard of. Herder-farmer conflicts in Nigeria. This is fascinating stuff, guys. 1,000 people dead in a year. That's not chump change. Yeah, Colombia and Venezuela. That's the FARC, right? That has to be the FARC. EPL. FARC, here we go. Yeah. So that I knew about. Democratic of Republic of Congo, also over 1,000 deaths. Central African. The Central African Republic, fucking hell, they've been in conflict for a long ass fucking time. What does it say here? 2012. But that was yeah, people think, you know, people think the 14-minute runs, Carta. Okay, let's get to another controversial topic. Shit, I don't have Frisbee on here. Can you link it, Carta? So Carta is selling OC brackets for Alder Lake. So anyone who wants a better hold down mechanism than the stock one for Alder Lake, are you still selling them? Do you still have stock? A pretty good price. I bought one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have Facebook on this streaming machine, but how far do we have to go before we get? So this is here, 500,000 dead. 500,000 dead in Syria, and let's check the belligerents. So there's Syria itself. That's right, Turkey got involved too. It was like a 5-sided conflict. US, Russia, maybe Iran just backed someone and didn't actually get involved. So let's say US, Russia, Turkey, Syria itself, 4-sided at least. Like, who are these? Look at this list of belligerents. This is crazy. And at one point there was Islamic State too, which I don't know who their backing was. Come on, two-way clipboard. Work. There we go. Okay, let's undo this. So yeah, these are the brackets. It'll cost you less than a Der Bauer bracket. That's for sure. And just as a summary of the whole issue, the stock ILM, as it's called, puts too much pressure on these 2 points where the IHS comes out here. So you end up with a concave. Overall, you end up with a concave chip. So you end up with basically a lot of paste in the middle here and then no contact on the outside. And this bracket fixes that. I haven't received mine yet. I'll test it on LN2. Who worships Satan? I feel like we've gone even for politics discussions, we've gone off the deep end here. 8.3. Okay. So only a K with the CPU. That's a bit of an issue. That's okay. This is a highly tweakable 83112. Let's get the NVMe driver on here, and maybe AS. What was it called? AS SSD. Yeah, not ideal. And the other topic I will briefly touch on in a second after I've checked my performance in AS SSD. I'm not sure I need this EN US bullshit. It's all in good spirits, guys. I don't. Why is it in German? 2,000 megabytes does look pretty good for this drive. Okay, let's check. Almost 2.1. I think rated performance as per Intel is 2.2, but this is not a. I don't have the driver installed or anything, so. Western Digital. Why is there a Western Digital called 750? That's making things hard. So the score I see on the HarborBot is 2.1. I'm even beating on the right. Access times I'm beating as well. So there's a 3675 on HarborBot, and I have a 3883. And actually, is a PCI SSD even an NVMe drive? I mean, there's an NVMe driver published for it. I'm sort of wondering. Okay, I need to actually save this. Damn it! I closed it. Did I close it? I don't remember it anyway. Nice two-way conversation going on there. Restart now. And if it doesn't improve, or if it makes my AS SSD score worse, I'll be uninstalling it straight away. I'd like to hit 9K at least. I know that reducing bench res is a thing as well. So the other aspect of the Ukraine war is it just strikes up too many similarities to Iraq. Why did I say Iraq? That's an American thing. You know, WMDs. That was an entirely manufactured war, start to finish, you know. And then I have to say that Russia's war in Ukraine is like 0.5% more justified than that, you know. It's like if something is entirely justified, like entirely manufactured, then you know something else that isn't entirely manufactured by just pure logic means, you know, it's more justified, you know. It might still only be, it might be a 99.5% unjustified, but it's still more justified compared to 100% unjustified war. Let's uninstall this crap. That's for people who are old enough to remember that, you know. They kill the British guy who was like the source on WMDs, right? That was another little thing that happened there. Wow. So the write did improve, but the read was slightly slower. So I think we did like a... The overall score will tell us. So yeah, that also sort of affects the credibility of the US side of things. $38.50. That's in the ballpark of what we had previously. Well, let's overclock our GPU clearly. Why do I have to re-add the fucking game? Frame pacing off. Test off. References. Disable the overlay and all that stuff. And let's set the lowest bench res. Why not? I feel like that would help in a crap bench like this. May as well get the afterburn air out. No, I keep saying no to this statistic server. I don't feel like it would add anything. No, fuck that. Disable updates. Reference design. Voltage control. I should do. I hate this skin as well, so let's do 1500 and 1150 at max vols, max power limit. Just a quick render test. Yeah, it sets. Flat Earth. I still don't really know if Flat Earth is just an elaborate prank, you know, like the whole point. I feel like the whole point of Flat Earth theory now is just to get people riled up. You know, it's gone full circle. It went from an example of the most outrageous thing you could honestly believe in to an example of the most outrageous thing you could honestly get riled up about. I don't get riled up about Flat Earth anymore. Maybe I never did. But yeah, I don't know. Change your mind. Okay, guys. Knuckle down now. No timeouts or bans coming, but if you feel like you need to continue this conversation, please do it via PMs or whispers or whatever they're called on Twitch. Let's talk about benching again. So the big score to drop was Safe Discs White Cruncher, and it beat my friend's 6.4. I mean, this is ripe for a rebench. I feel like he may take it back. Well, let's have a look. I mean, they're both on apexes. We're talking, so White Crunch is heavily memory dependent, so we're talking 7500 C30 versus 7675 or so C30, but with 40 40 28, whereas the other ones also 40 40 28. Might just be new bias then. 1304 versus 0080. Yeah, appreciate it, Hanky Panky. No, I mean, it's all in good fun. Like I really don't care, but at a certain point, if it's really just a conversation between two people, then take it to PMs. No, we all have our blind spots, right? Like I'm under no illusion. Like I probably believe in some pretty silly shit. Let's face it. I wonder what the most outrageous thing is I honestly believe in. That'd be interesting. Like the most out there thing. I can't come up with anything. I mean, there's 9/11. They let it happen. So there's the different levels of conspiracy theory for 9/11, right? There's the US, it was an inside job, and there's they let it happen, and there's they didn't know about it. I'm sort of in the they let it happen camp. I'm not a flat earther. What else is there? I'm trying to think. I left CPUZ open. That'll probably screw with it. See, this is the SSD you really want. This exactly, the Optane P5800X. That'll give you a top score in all this stuff. .6. So I'm on 900 write, 2200 read. That's crazy. So if I was trying to so what's the RRP on this? That's what I want to know. So is that a hang? No. Where's the arc link? Yes, that's what I want. I don't know. Yeah, I want the list of SKUs. Okay, so there's 800. Is there a 400 gigabyte? There is. And it still does 7.2. So that's what I want, is a PX 5800X 400 gigabyte. What does eBay want? 1.4K. What's even the interface? Is that U.2 or what? It's on Amazon. Okay. Currently unavailable. Oh no. There's only 4 results? What? I'm shocked. I don't get it. Like, so if I remove buy, I don't know if CDW is an actual retailer. 1,200. Yeah, great. What about in Poland? What's the cost in Poland? That's a review. God, I wouldn't want to know what the 3.2 terabyte one costs. If the 400 is already 1,300. Only $1,128. Sure. So yeah, sort of halfway through. GIMP. Always reminds me of the GIMP in Pulp Fiction. There were some pretty cool dual core scores in the last week. Yeah, see, 37. Is that really the max multi of this thing? I have a G40 7400 on the way. Yeah, 3.7. Interesting. Excuse me. I don't know how they get such good memory out of this thing. I was struggling above 6400. Mexican drug war, ongoing since 1989. I wonder how they picked that that cutoff. Actually, was it just not a war before then? The arrest of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, founder of the first Mexican drug cartel. That's wild. So there were no drug cartels before the 80s in Mexico. Let's see what the smallest conflict is. 300 dead in Chad. Okay. See, we don't hear about this stuff, like insurgency in northeast India. How's Cheap Pass going actually? See, I don't think anyone's put up a legit score really. Single stage. Water. How is water first in a stage? Like what's this guy doing special? So it seems kind of chilled. Probably should have subbed it as chilled. Is it just really good memory or something? Yeah, 75% overclock on memory. What about this? Is this water as well? Lucky combo of chip, memory, PCB, and BIOS. That's hell. Oh, I don't think we have a score. 8-80. I'll have to go to full size just to remember what my last I just selected an incompatible display mode. 16:10. I need to go to 16:9 for the screen. That's why it has the recommended next to it. So, oh no, it didn't survive the resizing. Oh no, 8-80. So lower. It's probably the open ZPUZ, to be honest. 130 130 flat. Let's do 131. Okay, one last run. Actually, what I benched recently was, this is my own little pet project going on here. 32M, socket AM3, unlocked processors only. So hardware first spots. So I still need a good 975. They're hard to find. I suspect the 965 score is cheated, but I'll do my best to get second at least, which I still don't have. Then I have the next four. 570 at 6.7. Next fill up, that's falling. I have 565s on the way. I'll get that. 6.4 1100T is surprisingly tough. That's locked. That's yes. 550 will be tough as well. So I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I have to rebench the 720 as well. Okay, while that run is ongoing, let's take a stab at an AM3 motherboard roundup for YouTube. So, why is that not loading? I flicked it to the other tab. Okay, so let's take a stab at an AM3 motherboard roundup for YouTube. So AM3 is not AM3 Plus. AM3 Plus is Bulldozer. It's still DDR3, but it's a totally different microarchitecture, and it's a different process as well. So here I'm talking the most bench relevant would be DNAB. So the earlier steppings like the 550 Black Edition, and then the later steppings like 555, 560, 565, 570 Black Editions, which are the dual cores, and then 955, 965, 970, 975, and 980 Black Editions, as well as Thuban, which is, so those, the ones I just listed are all quad cores, and then the unlocked hex cores are the 1090T Black Edition and the 1100T Black Edition. For all of those, there's basically two chipsets that are relevant: 790X and 890X. There's some integrated graphics chipsets which may do okay. You can also run the AM3 Plus chipsets, but really, if you're trying to bench these full pod, all that stuff, and these are the chipsets. And actually 790, it's interesting, but not the best. But I'll still mention that it's hard to distinguish DDR2 from DDR3 boards, and you don't want to really be benching DDR2 on these chips. It will limit you in CPU North Bridge frequency, and then obviously any memory intensive benchmark. So you might think that W prime will be okay on a DDR2 board. Don't waste your time. I'm only gonna even list the DDR3 boards. So there's the Crosshair 3 formula, surprisingly hard to find, actually harder to find than the Crosshair 4 and the Crosshair 5, but it's a solid board. You've got a nice VRM here. You've got EPS 8-pin, which is not a given. Yeah, you've got your buttons here. You can obviously use diagnostic, little add-in card in the PCI slot. Nice board, and actually has good SuperPi 32M efficiency. Just I don't come across them. If you can get it for a good price, it's worth picking up, but will you ever find it for a good price? I doubt it, even in Europe. Just to mention the Evo board as well. It's only got a 4-pin. Looks like an okay VRM, but I don't know. And also DRAM topology is a thing here. So the two, this might look like you would run slot 4 and slot 2, but actually you run slot 3 and 4 together to get dual channel. So on the same thing on the Evo board. I've seen some okay scores on this board, but yeah, not really recommended. If you're really gonna pick up a 790FX board, then Crosshair is the way to go. Also no buttons here. And just to mention, there's also a Gigabyte DDR3 790 board. No buttons, no diag LED or anything. At least it's got the 8-pin. Still that sort of old style topology there. I don't know to what degree that holds back memory overclocking. I would suspect not, because these have crap IMCs anyway. But just for completeness sake, there's another Gigabyte board that also has an 8-pin. Don't know enough about this, but it's in the UD series, so it's probably pretty solid. The main 890FX, that's the main chipset. This board is glorious. I used to run this all the time. It has the new topology where you run slot 4 and slot 2. It's got voltage read points. It's got buttons, and you use your diag LEDs. It's even got a clear CMOS on the back panel I/O. This is a beast of a board. It has a little fan in the VRM for cooling there, even though the VRM is pretty good. Probably the best multi-core, heavy multi-core. Certainly for 6-core, this is what I'd run. Not so strong. If you're into locked chips, you probably won't get as good BCLK out of it, but that's sort of a niche within a niche. Multi-core strong, not good SuperPi 32M efficiency. The formula is sort of a cut down version of that. Tag tells me he keeps killing formulas. You've got your relocated buttons. Still no diag LED, but no problem because of the PCI slot. Yeah, interesting board. I've seen good scores on it. It's sort of a poor man's Extreme. I wouldn't suspect that it's better at anything than the Extreme, but if you can pick it up, then pick it up, because it's still, you know, look, that VRM, a solid board. Where it gets really interesting is on the Gigabyte side. UD7, I sadly killed my, I think I had a Rev. Yeah, I had a Rev. How can I zoom into this damn thing? A Rev 4. I don't know. There's different revisions. You just have to be careful, because basically you've got your 2 outside slot topology here, and then you have your interleaved topology. They both have EPS 8 pins, of course. They both have PCIe slots galore. Both have the diag LED. This is the king of boards. I mean, I think for really heavy multi-core, because you don't have configurable LLC, whereas at least on the Crosshair Extreme you have a LLC on or off. I feel like the LLC, the droop, the fact that on the Extreme you have configurable VM switching frequency as well. So for multi-core stuff, I would say go Asus, but for all of the single-threaded stuff, PiFast, SuperPi 1M, SuperPi 32M, that kind of stuff, Geekbench, I would go Gigabyte. Just be cognizant of the fact that there's different revisions. The UD5 is pretty much just a slightly cut down, fewer PCI Express slot. UD7 still has the 8 pin. It doesn't have the diag LED, but it still has the buttons. Here again, you have at least 3 revisions, 4 revisions actually. So there's a 2.0, 2.1. So the 2.0 has the classic topology. The 2.1 has the updated topology. Then there's a version 3, which I would struggle to find the difference. Yeah, I don't know. And there's a revision 3.1. I would say go with the later revisions if you can. There's some reports of cold bugs on the UD5, so you have to up your PCI Express frequency to avoid that. So you're talking about a minus 150 cold bug. I have 2 different revision UD5s. I had 2 different revision UD7s. One of them died after many cold sessions. Like I'm talking like 50 cold sessions. But so I'm currently rocking this older revision UD7, but it's fine. I knocked out a first place. What was it? I think it was a 570 Black Edition, first place, 32M. It's fine. So Gigabyte is the way to go. But there are some honorable mentions. So if you're trying to specialize, this will be hot garbage in 32M. But if you're trying to specialize on the lock chips, this does really high BCLK. So that may be an option. You're talking like 450. On the Gigabyte, you have to get a certain IC of RAM in there, but the BioStar seems to do it regardless of what RAM you put in there. And it's got the diag LED, it's got the buttons. BioStar, so many good BioStar boards over the years, but just not never got that traction in the West. And yeah, I mean MSI seems fine too. I wonder what that little analog dial down here does. But you've got your button, you've got 2 little analog dials. No debug LED for some reason, but it certainly looks competent with that VRM. Again, probably would struggle in 32M efficiency. And even ASRock, I've even seen good ASRock scores. I know ASRock for AMD is a bit of a pain point, but I think this is one of those exceptions where you can sort of conditionally recommend ASRock. But this is like a 10-year-old platform, so I would say your order of what you're looking for is an extreme well, it all depends on what you like to bench. An extreme or UD7 first. Either version of the UD7. I'd be more careful of the different revisions on the UD5. Next tier would be a Crosshair for Formula, or Crosshair 3, or UD5. And then if you're sort of in the more desperate situation, I would say ASRock, MSI, or BioStar are worth a look. But let me know in the comments what's sort of available these days. I know availability has dried up. Certainly in the 5 years that I've been XOCing, availability of everything, including these kind of platforms, has dried up. But I mean, I have, of the top end boards, I have 3 top end boards. So I would hope that nowadays you'd at least be able to get your hands on one. So yeah, a little bit of a briefer motherboard breakdown. The next one in about a month's time will be FM2, I think, and then AM3 Plus, and those will be a little bit more contentious. Here it's like anything that is 890FX and is sort of top end. I think even the lower end ones, I don't know what, even was there a Sabertooth 890FX Sabertooth? Maybe not. Maybe it came in yeah, 990FX was when that came in. If there were such a thing as a second tier 890FX Asus board, I would probably give it a look, to be honest. Yeah, I would. So I just got an 8.4 run out, by the way. So let's just give a brief run through the list to conclude this video. Wow, that's not right. Yes, the 890FX, 890 TD Pro and USB, those should be competent boards. UD5 and UD7 we already covered. Even the lower hand MSIs, GD65, or the first gen should be fine too. Let me know if I left anything out. And that's the end of this video, and let's go back to PC Mark. Let's actually save the score. So this will be the end of the stream. We didn't beat the Cole scores on the old platform, but that's okay. That's fine. Maybe won't even validate. This is a good first step, let's say. This should do. So that was a 8435, and save as results file 8435. And I'm just gonna up it by 1 BCLK. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope the discussion didn't get too political. I can be a bit opinionated sometimes. It's a 2.5 hour stream. I may be gone for a month now. Hope you won't miss me too much. But my next stream will be either the Corsair comp, if I feel like I can stream some of that without giving anything away, or otherwise it'll be after the comp, and it'll be SR2. So I'm looking forward to that, getting that sweet dual, as my system just crashes, that dual CPU achievement on Hybrid. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you next time.